Hey guys, if you're tuning in, spoilers, don't watch this if you want to be completely left in the dark, but we're going to talk about a lot of the different changes that we've seen so far on kind of some of the database stuff on Wowhead, and that's what we're doing today. Just going to chat with everyone. Hello, hello. Hey Emil, how's it going? Can I give a link to this? Yeah, it's just Wowhead. Specifically looking at the spell list right now, but we'll probably look at other stuff here in a little bit. There's a lot of new stuff. You just kind of have to peek under the surface and kind of do a little digging, because they're kind of not reporting on a lot of this stuff. But I've already found some pretty big changes that they haven't reported on, which I think are pretty important to know if you're going into the game, especially for professions. These are all the overload abilities. They're not changing professions, just they have something, well, they have one big thing that's changed on tailoring. So for example, when I'm in here looking at 60 upgrades, because I in my head I'm like, that's not what the number was. I remember because I was debating on getting these boots on my druid just because they're so good. So it says momentarily enter another plane of existence, instantly reducing threat as well as reducing all damage taken and damage dealt by 50% for 6 seconds. So super strong, 5-minute cooldown. But here we can see it's changed to 30%. So it's 20% weaker. Still strong, but if this is how it's standing, then that's already a pretty big nerf to the item. Check Warlock spells. There's a Shadow Cleave. Learned at level 6. Yeah, there's some crazy stuff. I saw like the charge for Warlocks for, I think, Metamorphosis. I'm trying to open in a new link spells that I think are worth talking about. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. See, and this, I'm getting confused by a lot of these ones that sound... There's a lot of druid abilities on here that say require mage. So Like there'll be there'll be two versions. There'll be the druid version, and then there'll be like one that says requires mage. So I don't know what that's all about. Practice dual wield. This must be for shamans. Oh, wow. That's big. Okay, so let me pull up. Is it 2 words? Okay. So this is a traditional Ghost Wolf spell. So the traditional Ghost Wolf spell is a 3-second cast. It turns your shaman into a Ghost Wolf and increases your speed by 40, right? Only usable outdoors. However, if we look at this one, turn the shaman into a Ghost Wolf, increasing speed by 40 and decreasing all damage taken by 10%. You have a 10% damage reduction. And you also, it does not say the caveat about using outdoors. So that would mean that Ghost Wolf now can be used indoors and also is a 10% damage reduction, which is actually crazy. If you have like the tanking rune, Way of Earth, and this, you're stacking like a lot of reduction in damage. And you have high armor from shields. Like, shamans are going to be some, like, seriously tanky in PvP. I'm curious to see if you'll be able to get this instant cast. Right now it's a 3-second cast. And if you talent it down, it reduces it by 2 seconds, so it's just a 1-second cast. But I'm curious to see if you can ever get this to just instant cast. Yeah, they're supposed to be able to just, they're supposed to just be able to spam Searing Pain. Can you block as a Ghost Wolf? I don't actually know. That's a good question. That would be important for, like, mana regen and also just defense in general. Interesting. Inoculation belt. This sounds like there's a belt in the game that you can use, and it removes a disease or poison. This sounds like an on-use effect for like a belt. Very cool. Wonder if that's from the I wonder if this will be from Professions or if it'll be from the raid. Enlightenment. Allows 10% of your mana regeneration to continue while casting. Demon Pact. Innate Mind. Interesting. I wonder if this will be something for PvP stuff. I feel like this is going to be for the shredders, the shredder units or something. Oh, okay, well, the Shadow Fiend's melee attacks siphon energy from the target. So basically, with seeing this spell, we now know that Shadow Priest, or Priest in general, will probably get a Shadow Fiend rune, which is crazy. We'll open that one. That one's pretty insane. Wow. Okay, so shamans are gonna get earth living imbued on the weapon. Barrel has confirmed Tiger Fury plus 60 energy, and also any news on if weapon damage will affect inform right clicks. Don't know about any of that weapon stuff. I mean, the 60 energy is kind of how it is now, but there's so many change. Like, that's one thing that I want to say is, like, if you're going a specific class solely for like how it seems like it's going to be now, I wouldn't put too much on that. There's just going to be so many balance changes. Like I said, we've already seen these boots nerfed by 20%. We've seen other abilities change over time. We've seen mages get some nerfs. I wouldn't like don't go into a class just because of like an ability or how OP you think it's going to be. Definitely go play a class because it's the class you want to, because we're not sure what all's sticking. Yeah, I'm a troll. I mean, orc stun resist is really, really strong for sure. Do I think Paladin tank is a viable option? Yeah, I think they'll make it viable. Whether it's viable at the beginning or not, we'll have to see. I know some people that did the BlizzCon demo, they said that Paladin tanks seem to still have a lot of mana issues, but we'll see kind of. And I guess they were having trouble holding threat, but maybe they weren't playing it right. Maybe they didn't have the right spec. Who knows? Is there a web page where I can gear my WoW character? Yeah, I'd use this site personally. That's what I like. So Crushing Darkness, I believe, is going to be a new ability in the raid, and it seems like you almost have to have like an Oni Cloak trinket to be able to avoid this mechanic, which is kind of cool. Is it fair to go Ellie and assume it will be the most bursty caster? You hate dots and such, love big crits. I mean, like, you're gonna do, yeah, you're gonna do good bursty damage. Who knows if it will be overpowered? Who knows? We'll just have to see. But it does seem like it's going to still play like a traditional Ellie Shaman, which is kind of bursty in nature. We also see that traps have a 40-yard range, and it doesn't say anything about combat, so it seems like you're going to be able to launch your traps at an enemy instead of have to put it right at your feet. Interesting looking at all this stuff though to see how much things are added into the game that seem like just for the rune system. So I think there's going to be I don't think the runes are going to be very like simple, you know, like I think there's multiple steps. You got to do a few things. It's not just like picking something up off the ground. Dream Eater. Nice. Your latest streams have solidified Ellie, my PvP main for SOD. Nice, dude. Hopefully you enjoy it. It does seem like it seems like Shaman in general is getting a lot of love. So even if you don't like Ellie in the long run, the other specs sound really fun too. So hyped for this to come out, dude. Right there with you. I am like, we're in single-digit days, guys. It's 9 days away. We're getting there. And just think, it was 30 days just a little bit ago. What kind of thing did they add? We're going through a lot of stuff. We're finding quite a bit. You deal 10% more damage while you have more than 70. Oh, this is just a thing they already had. Rejuve, 1 instant, 105 mana. Rank 4. I wonder how this changed at all. Rejuve. It's just nation. Rank. Of course, they don't have the one rank that I want to see. Is it not showing up? Hey, no hit drum, how's it going, man? Feel like I'm counting down to my prison release day again. Well, hopefully it's equally as exciting. Do you know if Aspect of the Lion is available on launch for Hunter? It is shown on Wowhead and not 60 upgrades SOD. Yeah, I noticed that as well. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be available. I saw it. I scrolled past the spell a little earlier for it to be put on your chest as well. So it's definitely like in the game files and everything. So I'm not sure. I don't think they've stated one way or the other, but it should be. I think King's is normally like level 20 something. It's available at level 20? Okay. Increases the melee damage dealt by the caster by 25 and speeds its attack by 30 for 15. Interesting. This is like a frenzy from one of the bosses, I guess. Okay, we haven't found anything that exciting yet, guys, but I have like I have tons of tabs open of everything that before I started streaming that I right-clicked on that I noticed being pretty interesting. It's hard because you have to go kind of through all this stuff, but we found a really big balanced druid change that I don't think many people know about yet. And I don't even really know how it will function yet, but I'll talk about that in just a second. Yeah, you just see how many spells there are for all the rune stuff. It's kind of crazy. I haven't seen anything on the sharpening stones. I don't even actually know where we'll get the patterns for the other profession stuff. I'd assume maybe off of bosses, but I don't know. Some whole puzzle system thing. Maybe it won't just be as simple as recipes. True. Yeah, they could have it kind of behind something a little more unique. Hey, Hammertown. Okay, let's see. I'm getting close to the end of all these. Yeah, these are just the earth shocks, like if you go the earth, the call of earth or whatever. As you can see, it says melee range. So there's a lot of spells that are spells we are aware of, but it's just the changed version. I'm guessing maybe these rejuves are the ones that you can... It's like a different spell ID. It might be the ones that can stack. So if you have that rune. Cool. Sting. Encroaching leprosy. Okay, interesting. There's also a portal. There's going to be a portal to Zoram Strand, guys. So a portal right next to where the dungeon is. I don't know where exactly on the beach it will be. Maybe where those old ruins are, honestly, near the dungeon. I noticed that. Corpse exploded. There's there's a few things, guys, that are huge for some of the classes. I want to get into them in just a second. Yeah, I'm not sure how the portal is gonna work yet, but it definitely says portal to Zoram Strand, which is obviously the coast area. That's a good question. It might be like a port. It might be a port at the end of the dungeon too, honestly, that could teleport you out. Since it's kind of a long run out, but I'm not really sure yet. It just said portal to Zoram Strand, so it might be to port out at the end of the dungeon. That's definitely an option of what it is. It could be like also if you have control, maybe your faction won the last Ashen Veil, then maybe it allows you to access the portal to kind of give incentive for people to win. I don't really know. I think we have 2 more pages. Yeah, and then I saw this spell for hunter pet scaling. So it's confirmed that your hunter pets will definitely scale. And this is kind of tedious though, going through all this stuff, but see, Black Fathom teleporter activation visual. So this is probably for what the portal will look like. Speaking of, here's the teaches you how to make a Black Fathom sharpening stone. Immunity to freezing arrow, interesting. Frost arrow shoots at an enemy, inflicting physical damage. This might be a mechanic to a boss. Kind of how it sounds like. It sounds like the boss might be immune, like have this aura to immune to freezing arrow, and then like at a certain opportune time, this buff will fall, and then that's when he's weakened, and you're able to shoot him with a frozen arrow. Maybe it's kind of what it was looking like for that. Command. I think they're just giving. It almost sounds like. Yeah, this says requires level 1. I wonder if you're gonna get kill command pretty early on for Hunter. That might be like your first rune kind of thing. Level 1 PvP is going to be insane. Okay, this should be... Yeah, this is the last page. Weird. Moonfire, but it's level 25 and it's a base mana cost. Huh. Okay, those are all the spells. We're gonna go through inventory stuff later, but currently we'll look from this end over. So this just looks like a druid, part of a druid thing. I don't know why I opened that up. Same with this one. So these are new shoulders that were data mined at some point. So some nice paladin shoulders. And what I wanted, that's not what I want. So where is the good stuff? Okay, first important thing we found is Path of Arthus. Your connection to the light has been damaged. All holy healing you deal is decreased by 50%, but all non-holy damage you deal is increased by 5%. I think this is kind of Blizzard's answer for kind of balancing spells in terms of mana regen. Like if you are a Ret Paladin or a Prot Paladin and they give you more of a more ways to mana regen, then I think this is kind of the back end of it. They don't want like a Holy Paladin using a mana regen rune that is super broken, and then they just use it and are able to heal like crazy. So I think this is their way of dealing with it, and also this is probably a good way of dealing with that kind of stuff in PvP. So it's like, yeah, it sounds like you probably will have less mana problems, but your healing is reduced. So and then the mangle stuff here is weird, guys. Look, requires mage, and I found this on multiple. So there'll be like a normal mangle that's like druid, but then I found so many things that say require mage, so I don't know. They might be starting to toggle with some other random spells, and that's just like a placeholder thing, but I did find it kind of weird. Yeah, that's kind of, I was thinking symbiosis, but it's like for so many abilities for druid, and they all say mage. They don't say any other class. I found this one interesting because it shows requires level 1, so I could see Fury of Storm Rage being kind of like druid's first rune they're able to pick up, which would be amazing for leveling. Obviously, the Wrath talent, like getting cheap, like free Wraths, would just make leveling speed so nice for druid at the early game. Before, I didn't know what Life Bloom would cost. It's 28% of base mana, so it's fairly expensive. It's a pretty expensive spell, so you're definitely going to want to kind of play it with the with blooming. So you want to let it bloom, because druid's going to regain half the cost of the spell every time it blooms. So I think letting it bloom will probably be the best way to play. Yeah, it is really, really expensive. We also we got to remember too, though, that like base mana for druids and let's say like shamans are like lower than other classes, because you have like a feral druid that always has like really poor mana pool. But then obviously, like, if you have a bunch of int gear, your mana pool's quite a bit bigger, so this might be less of a big deal if you have a decent mana pool, but I don't know, it's pretty... So much worse for tank healing, though. That's disappointing. Yeah, and we'll have to, like, we'll have to play around with it. It might be that you have enough mana regen from other things that it's worth. Yeah, classic spells are always just like a normal mana cost. So these ones, like, they have, like, as you level, your runes have to obviously level with you in terms of efficiency and like how much damage they do. Say you get like you know, a frostbolt rune and it does 100 damage at level 20. Obviously at level 30, if it's still doing 100 damage, it's going to be garbage. So it scales as you level, so this is why they're doing like base mana costs for spells. And then this was just, I was just looking more into the Mangle because we see that it has a 40 energy cost. And if we look at let's see in here, the claw has okay, that's not the right claw. Okay, there. So claw has a 45 energy cost. All right, but then when you talent it, where's my druid? So then when you talent it, you get obviously 5 reduction to it. However, if you look at the Mangle, where is it? So this ability benefits from and triggers all effects associated with Claw and Maul. So if it benefits from, I don't know if putting points into Ferocity will reduce the cost of Mangle by an extra 5, if that makes sense. So then it would be 35 energy. I don't really know if that's how it's going to work. We'll have to see. This one, guys, look at this. I found this. So Grace of Elune, it sounds like it might be from either it's from Ashenvale, or it possibly could be something later that we see as a buff that you're able to get. And obviously this is pretty big. Mangle was 40 in TBC and Wrath, I believe. Right, yeah, but I'm just saying, I'm not sure if it will, just with the tooltip, it might benefit from the talent. I don't know. Yeah, I saw the changes to the Might and Judgment chest guard a while ago. Like, I made a video on it about probably 5 or 6 days ago. So those changes are older. But yeah, it just has base stats. So to me, it sounds kind of more of like you'll be able to, I don't know, enchant your gear, or augment your gear, or somehow change it to be able to put on different stats that you want, if that makes sense. I think Wolf's Head Helm will be a thing. I don't know yet. It might be still good to power shift, but it's kind of too early to know. They've added can't remember what it's called, and I got out of the spells. It's like a druid ability that allows you to get energy back on dodge, and you might not have as many, like, it might be actually better to just stay in cat form at that point then. But we'll have to see. So many levelers they can pull for class balancing now, like the Ret specific world buff or the Grace of Elune. Yeah, And we'll have the one thing that I find really interesting is oh, and then there's this ability, and it says requires mage. So again, I think there's some weird placeholder stuff. Like, obviously, of your nature spell damage, like, mages don't have nature spell damage, so I don't know what some of these buffs are kind of random. But I found this to be huge. So normally Ghost Wolf, it will say turn Shaman into a Ghost Wolf, increasing speed by 40%, only usable outdoors. But now it says turns a Shaman into a Ghost Wolf, increasing speed by 40%, and decreasing all damage taken by 10%. And now it says nothing about not being able to be used indoors, and that it can only be used outdoors. So this would mean that Shamans now can use Ghost Wolf anywhere, and it also looks like it's going to decrease your damage taken by 10%. So this is really, really big. Yeah, exactly. Flag running as Shaman seems really strong now. The one thing I will say, it's still a 3-second cast, and currently, if you look at Shamans, their talents, so it reduces the cast by 1 second, and you can do it 2 times, so still you'd have a 1-second cast if it's still in the game like that, but I think the 10% damage reduction is just crazy. So we'll have to see if this possibly changes, and you're able to get it free cast. Then it would be pretty crazy if it was instant. Not impressed unless druids can root indoors. Yeah. Oh, and then we found this one, guys. The Shadow Fiend's melee attack siphon energy from the target. So this, to me, either there's a Shadow Fiend now in the game that is going to attack you, like, and it's a boss mechanic or something like that. But to me, more than anything, this sounds like Shadow Priests are probably going to get Shadow Fiend. That's what that sounds like to me. And then Freezing Trap, obviously 40-yard range. So this sounds like it's going to be able to be placed where you want within 40 yards, which is crazy strong. And it says nothing about combat, so also big. I think hunters are going to be huge. And then obviously we've seen this one before. This isn't new, but instantly heals yourself for 30% of your maximum health, usable in all forms. And this is like a mini druid NS. We've seen this before in like later iterations of the game. I can't remember what. But the nice thing about having this ability is it would allow you to kind of have some more flexibility with like what spec you want to play as a druid. Because like traditionally in PvP, you almost always want to pick up NS from the resto tree just because it's so strong. So having this rune might allow you to kind of play some more unique specs or not feel like you have to go down into, resto as far. WTF, druids get desperate prayer? Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, I saw that the insane warlock stuff. Yes, heroic leap, taunt, and kick. Yeah. I think that everything I've seen, guys, so far with all the stuff to the classes is Blizzard is just going all out, which I don't know if it's a good thing, but man, so much changes for all the classes, and I get it. It's Season of Mastery, so I mean it's a seasonal server, it's Season of Discovery, so you might as well. I mean, it's not gonna stay around forever, so you might as well make some crazy changes and try some crazy stuff out and see what works. But I don't know I don't know what's gonna happen with classes. It seems I don't think players are really gonna feel like they're playing a classic class anymore. But I could be wrong. We'll see. The change in Ghost Wolf is to carry the flag. I mean, yeah, but it's going to be great for all sorts of situations too. Not just carrying the flag. Like 10% damage reduction is great. Yeah, hunters do seem insane. Renewal, though, this ability, we don't know when it's going to be in the game. It could be in at 25, or this could be something that was data mined and it's coming to a later phase. So just remember that. It could also never come to the game. We don't know. What else did I see? Here's the portal to Zoram Strand. So we'll have to see how that ends up working. Yeah, I do like what they've talked about with servers as well. I see the changes rather needed for hunters. They don't scale well. Yeah, I agree, but at low levels they are crazy strong, so we'll have to see. Yeah, Ghost Wolf now has a 10% damage reduction, and it seems like you can use it anywhere. It doesn't say anything about only being used outdoors now. I know, it's very hard to pick a class at this point. It's looking like a tough decision. Also, guys, if I don't know, I talked about this at the very beginning of the stream, but planar shift, it's now 30% reduction. So if we go into the tailoring boots, here it says reducing all damage taken and damage dealt by 50% for 6 seconds. So this item seemed extremely strong for like basically a survival ability in PvP, and it seems like probably Blizzard realized it was too strong, and currently it looks like it's now 30% instead of 50. So that might change whether you want to go tailoring or not. It's still they're still very, very good boots, but they might have just found that they were a little too overpowered. Plan on going on a PvP server? Yep, that's the plan. Wolf form water walking? Yeah. It's a bummer that you can't do that. Druid snake form? No, but I'd love to see something like that. That'd be cool. But no, nothing crazy with Druid really, except like this Nature's Fury and where's the other one? Maybe I exited it out by accident. Oh no, Grace of Elune and Nature's Fury. Both of these could very well be spells that, or like buffs you're given in Ashenvale, because they sound very Night Elfy. However, they also could be some sort of Druid thing. We just don't know yet. That's the only two like Druid things that I found so far. Let's close out of these. Yeah, the Ghost Wolf stuff is crazy. Went over that. We went over that Life Bloom has a 28% base mana cost. So it's going to be spendy. Obviously with gear and everything and like plus intellect, this might be like 10% mana cost. But still, 10% of your mana is pretty big. We looked at Path of Arthus, which basically is going to make it so that you're not a crazy... And I could see them adding something like this to like Balanced Druids or something, where they make it so you can't heal, you can't do as much healing or off healing, and kind of makes them a little bit more fair in a PvP environment. Or it makes it so that healers don't specifically use a certain rune to get like crazy mana regeneration. I wanted to look and see if there's any added NPCs, just because I thought that would be interesting. So we know about the Lost and Found. AQ 40 bonus difficulty trigger. Interesting. Rare. Okay, so you might end up having to camp some mobs. For example, look, that reminds, is that like the totem? I feel like one of these had like a totem name. Yeah, Rogue's AQ40, I know. Kind of sound what it sounds like. Earth Elemental. Probably a lot of new mobs that are for... So basically, if you see a new mob, I would go ahead and kill it, because it probably has something to do with a rune, obviously. I wanted to see if it had any information on like health or anything, but it doesn't. Marseer, interesting. Keeper of the Grove. So I think these are Ashenvale stuff. World Talent Master. That sounds like probably something that was just added to allow people to test stuff. Yeah, same with this. Staging area too. This was in for their PvP Essentials vendor. This might be... No, this is also for testing. So we can't really put much on these, because a lot of it could just be placeholders for them to test stuff. Yeah, I don't know how important it is to even look through this stuff. But a lot of things changed or added, like all these mobs, like 378 changes or added mobs to the game. So that's pretty crazy. That shows just how much like how much they're really looking at doing. Yeah, exactly. Get your sickly druid for your, or the sickly deer for a rune or something. Yeah, hunters. I think hunters can also like do something weird with taming them. I don't know. I'm gonna see if there's any new added in patch. Guys, what's this all about? Arena points added to... I wonder if they're going to have rated battlegrounds or something. A different currency. Like, why else would they be adding this to Classic? Yeah, I would love RBGs. I'd love RBGs. I would not be excited about Arena. I think Classic is too imbalanced for Arena, but man, RBGs would be sick. Maybe this is something for Hunter with the bunnies. Fish. Magical fish pet. Warp Stalker. I hope this is not like... I hope they're not putting the mount in there or something. Sign up for 6 months and get the Warp Stalker and the bunny. Ooh, this looks like it's for the Lunar Festival. Lunar Rabbit Pet. So maybe they're adding a new pet to obtain during the Lunar Festival. Totem is spell... Okay. Wrath of Air? Guys, I wonder if they're going to add... The weird thing, though, is it's the Draenei icon. It could just be a placeholder, but they might be testing some stuff with that. Arena, please God, no. Yeah, I hope this is rated Battlegrounds. I'd be excited for that. Okay, so those were the class icons. Let's go to... Okay, we saw this, by the way, which I think this probably will be a on-use item. So possibly a belt that drops in, let's say, BFD, and it has on-use where you can take 1% of your 1% damage, but you remove a disease or poison from yourself, which is pretty cool. Warp Stalker cringe? Yeah, I really hope they don't add anything like that. Okay, we looked at spells, and I think we looked at items too. I think I've been kind of caught up on everything. Pretty sure. See, here it shows the change. It shows increasing or instantly reducing threat as well as reducing all damage taken and damage dealt by 30%. Now, like I said, if we come in here, it used to be damage dealt and damage taken by 50%. So they nerfed it. I'm wondering if they changed any of these. Proc chance 25. Do they increase the proc chance on that? Let's go to warrior. No, proc chance always been 25. $15 seconds. Did they double the... Wait, they did? 10-minute... You're right. It used to be 5... Dude, they really nerfed the boots. I don't know, man. I mean, the boots still have great stats. Like, you get 7 spell power, you get a chance to hit, and you get obviously good stats. But like for like a class, like for example, I was kind of thinking maybe as a druid I'd pick up tailoring just because of how insane the boots are. But yeah, they got nerfed pretty hard. The boots were insane for every caster. Yeah, like it was like a no-brainer pick for everyone. So now, like, the stats on them are still really good, but the on-use effect is kind of, like, still strong, but for 6 seconds, a 10-minute cooldown, that's kind of... I don't know, that's a pretty big change. Good for tank, too, since they could taunt during it, you believe? Oh, okay. And then they added... So this is a trinket... which we see protects the bearer from effects of crushing darkness. And when I was looking through the spells, there's a crushing darkness spell. This sounds kind of like it's going to be some mechanic in the raid. Maybe you just need one person with it. But regardless, it sounds something like maybe, you know, how you have to have Oni Cloak for certain stuff in against dragons. It might be similar to something like that. I don't know. Oh, it's just a temporary threat drop? Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna hassle with tailoring either. It's probably not gonna happen for me. And the mounts, we know about those, the different headpieces. I'm interested to see if these end up having stats on them or not. Maybe they feel like if they put stats on them, it's maybe a little too strong, but new bracers with fire spell damage. Huh? Idol of the Wild. This is new to me. Party members within 20 yards gain increased combat ferocity. Each melee hit has a 20% chance of granting the attacker an extra attack. Oh, this is just Wild Strikes. Never mind. It was just called something different. It's just called Idol of the Wild. Never mind, never mind. Because I just can't imagine the first few days where someone's like, "Oh, I just found out where this rune is," you know, and they're like telling their guild, and people are like, "Oh, don't tell other people." You know, we have an edge against other people right now because we know where this is. Because it seems like the rune system is like definitely more than just a simple little grab something from, you know, a chest. It definitely looks more like. Have you seen the Feral 25 attack power thing? No, I saw that you linked me something. Spells uncategorized attack power Feral. Let's look it up. Well, I mean, we should look at the best one, right? Look at that. That must be like max level. Okay, guys. It could be like could be like a weapon thing, you know, like how right now I feel like that's kind of what it is. But 574 seems like a lot. Like End of Dreams is like 300, right? Yeah, 305 AP. I mean, it's somewhat close. Yeah, I was wondering if it's just like a passive attack power buff to allow ferals to have a little bit more choice over what weapons they use. Could be something like that. I don't think it was that high, was it? Mage, Priest, Warlock, Druid. 420. Oh, of course. 420 AP. Yeah, look at it. He even has the same. Look, it even has the same. Like, it looks exactly the same. The setup of it. So this is for the staff. So I would say that it's probably that. It's probably some kind of weapon modifier for druids. Which is cool. Wonder if it'll give us a little bit more variety to what we can play with. I would love that, obviously. My most played is Feral Druid. Every Feral player knows exactly what gear they want. There isn't much choice. Variety would be amazing. Yeah, I really agree. Plus, it would be nice to, like... So with... Let's get back to that. So with something like... Something like this, right? So the judgment... The actual judgment... Not called chest guard, it's called judgment. Go to armor, and then we'll go breastplate. Okay, so it has these equip bonuses, right? And then it also has the set bonuses. But if you look at just the raw stats, they're pretty similar, okay? You have one more strength, a little bit more stam, one less intellect, no spirit, and you still get the same resists, okay? So to me, it seems like this is what drops in the raid. And this is just complete speculation. There's no proof of this, but I could see it. I could see them going with this, where this drops in the raid, right? It gives you your base stats that the class wants, regardless of what spec you are. And then what it does is it allows you to kind of change or augment this lower stuff. So if you want to play as a holy paladin, maybe it allows you to put plus healing on it and maybe plus MP5 or crit, right? Holy paladins want a lot of crit, so maybe it allows you to put like 1% crit. And then obviously if you're tanking, it maybe allows you to put some defense on it. Maybe it allows you to put some like block chance or dodge. I could see them kind of going that way. And I don't think you would just have like the freedom to do that. I think you would choose, like you would go to like maybe your paladin trainer, and then you would select like tank, healing, or DPS, and then it puts a preset on there. But I could see them doing it that way. It kind of cuts down on the work they would have to do with like drops and all that, and then also they could still keep it all the same armor in the end. It just changes. I could kind of see them doing it that way. T2.5 was the most flexible sets we got. Yeah. And I mean, like, if you think about it, it would be so cool to be able to tweak the sets to your playstyle. Because obviously we have classes that, they have access to tier 3. Like, let's say Ellie Shaman or Shadow Priest, right? They have tier 3 gear that would make them a whole lot stronger than obviously using some random off pieces and tier 2.5 and maybe some PvP pieces. If they could choose to wear like the I think it's called Vestments of Faith for the tier 3 priest stuff, if they could wear all of that but it was tailored to Shadow Priest, obviously Shadow Priest would love that. And I think this might be kind of what they're experimenting on, and that's just kind of what's going on in my head with that idea. I don't know, it could be something completely different. This could be something else they're testing, but that's just a shot in the dark of what it possibly could be. If they are seriously considering balancing at 60, then they definitely are doing something new with the tiers, because tier in vanilla always one spec oriented. Yeah, and I think they would have to do something like that. Plus, if you think some like tier 2.5, right, is somewhat hybrid, and then the PvP gear oftentimes is offensively focused. So if you're like a healer class, then your PvP set probably is plus damage instead of plus healing. And I have no idea if they didn't change up the tier sets or allow you to have some more options. I have no idea what classes like Mage would do or Warlock would do in terms of being able to have like a healing set for mages or a more tanky set for warlocks. It feels like they would just be in the same situation as like a feral druid, where they're picking up random pieces from tons of dungeons, and maybe they're going into like Nax content and they're still wearing some like AQ 20 piece or like a molten core piece that just ends up happening to be best in slot because of the way classic itemization is. Warrior would get a lot stronger, get tier 3 with full DPS stats. I know, I was thinking about that too. There's a few classes that would be pretty scary like that. If that's the case, we better get rank 14 gear spec oriented. Yeah, well, and that's why I think, like, if you look at it, if they do end up going this route, it would be a fairly streamlined process, right? Because they could just have everything connected to like a class trainer, just like how you go to a class trainer and respec. Maybe they'd have something at a class trainer where you just go and add the stats that you want to your gear, something like that. Rank 14 shamans split for enhanced LA priest, satin equals shadow, and druids is barrel oriented. Yeah, it would be nice to see like as a shaman player right now, man, some of the shaman PvP gear is so just you know, like if you're playing enhance, a few of the pieces are just completely garbage because they have no like melee stats on them. Like I'm thinking maybe the boots and the legs, I think. And then whereas like some of the pieces are completely enhance related and have no spell stats on them. So it's like it just ends up being a kind of wonky set. To be fair, they wore mostly Nax gear because Conch Shoulder is just not tier. Yeah, they had like off pieces, I guess, but like leggings of Carnage and stuff like that. Any info on general gearing updating? No, not really. That's just kind of speculation. Classic has always been wonky. Strength and cloth pieces. Yeah, they've always had some strange stat priorities for sure. I hope though if they do some of this druid stuff with the weapons, it's just like in the game already. You don't have to like have a rune slot for something like that. That would be really a bummer in my opinion. I think we basically, let's see, database. I'm trying to see if there's anything. We looked over items. That covers that stuff. We looked at spells. Looked at NPCs. We didn't look at objects, but I don't really think that would help us with anything. Looked at icons. I think we basically covered all the things that could have been data mined as of now. Oh, yes, guys, what am I doing? The one thing I look at this. Guys, hello? Maelstrom ready. So, sounds to me kind of like shamans are going to get Maelstrom, which obviously is extremely strong. An instant cast spell after building up the stacks, right? A lot of you guys are probably familiar with that spell. So if this is in the game for shamans, like I feel like shamans are getting a lot of love. I know people are hyped for ret pallies on Alliance side, and people are saying that Horde is going to be underrepresentative in like population wise, but I don't know. Shaman seems like every single spec for Shaman is getting some really big buffs. And then what is it called? What's it called? Earth Living, right? Yeah, look at this. So right now you don't really have a good weapon imbue for healing. You just normally put on like you'll put on a mana oil, or you'll end up using, like if it's in PvP, you'll use a random one just in case you hit someone. But this is huge for resto shamans, especially if you have dual wield. If you have dual wield on a resto shaman and you have 2+ healing weapons and you have Earth Living on both of them, again, to preface this, guys, these are spells that are just in the game right now, in the files for the game. This does not mean that it's going to happen, right? It also doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that we're going to see Maelstrom. It doesn't mean that we're going to see Earth Living. It just is. It's just in the files. That's all I've got to say. But that points to them at least testing these things, seeing what they're like, and playing around with the concept of using them later. So, you know what I'm sad about, though? Wild Mushroom. Guys, there's nothing here on Wild Mushroom, okay? If you know someone at Blizzard, you tell them Wild Mushroom needs to be in the game. We need Wild Mushroom for Druids. I love that ability, and I want it. Give me Riptide, and then I'm sold? Yeah, I mean... they gave Priest Penance, and they gave Druids the 30% NS heal, but I don't know. I feel like giving classes instant heals is really, really strong in Classic. Like we see Paladins obviously having Holy Shock. But that has a fairly long cooldown. It's not very mana efficient. And Paladins really only have their other heals for them. But if they gave Shamans Riptide, I don't know, that might be too strong. Wild Mushroom is a little mushroom that's placed on the ground. Here, let's look at... Yeah, Wild Mushroom's like placed on the ground, and then you can place up to 3 Wild Mushrooms, and then you can like essentially detonate them, and they explode. They do damage to any mob or enemy that's in the area, and then I personally want the ones that do a slow. I think they've changed them over time and made different iterations of them, but yeah, I want those ones, but who knows if they ever would do that. But I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Any other really big things that I've found so far? I think that's more or less all of them. Still, I'm confused about the mage stuff being like druid stuff being shown as mage, but I guess we'll have to wait and see on that one if that's just like a weird issue. Oh yeah, let's look at the Warlock stuff. Okay, that's just a one that we've already seen. Where's the charge? Oh yeah, and if people weren't aware, mages are getting remove greater curse, which it removes 1 curse and also dispels 1 magic effect. It's instant, doesn't show any cooldown, and it's 10% of base mana, which 10% sounds like a lot, but with a mage, that's not that much. They have so much plus int on their gear that their mana pool, their base mana pool is relatively small compared to what they get with like fully gear. So where is the charge? Demon charge. So it's a 15-second cooldown. Charge an enemy and stun it for 1 second. Okay, cannot be used in combat. That's an important one to look at. But if we look at charge, 15-second cooldown, okay, cannot be used in combat. 8 to 25 yard range. 8 to 25 yard range. So essentially, they get the exact thing. They get the exact charge that a warrior has as a warlock. So yeah, that's pretty big, obviously. See, there's several like this that say requires mage. So I don't know if mage is... it kind of seems like mage is going to get... I wonder if mage gets some kind of like body takeover. Because I've seen so many of those abilities. I wonder if they're able to like a mind control almost in a way. Like, see, healing rain requires mage. Mangle requires mage. And then you'll find the exact same mangle spell that just says required druid. So I don't know why that is. Maybe they just have like a... maybe it's just the way they set stuff up. I don't really know. Some sort of placeholders and haven't been updated. Yeah, I was thinking that. I was thinking maybe like they have like GM, like a GM character that can test all the different abilities. And they just have it slotted as a mage or something. But yeah, see, like quick strike requires mage. Just strange. Melee mages confirmed. Mages can do everything now. Roll a mage and you can play every class. They know it isn't classic if mages can't do everything. Yeah. Mages are feeling a little bit weak lately, guys. I think we need to give them heals, a magic to spell. Oh, and then while we're at it, just give them every other spell we've added for other classes. Just give it to mages as well. This honestly makes me a little sad, guys. This Everbloom rune that it seems like you'll need. I hope this is just a passive that you don't have to take up a rune slot for. Not being able to multi-hot would just be kind of irritating to have to do that for a rune slot. So... sorry about that. My dogs decided to freak out. Yeah, guys, I don't really think there's a whole lot other... there's not that much more to cover. I mean, like, these, like, lightning... like, there's, like, lightning bolts in here that are the overload versions. So, as you can say, it says instant. So, they just added those spells in. First shield is 15% base mana. Affects the target with an Urshan shield, reducing casting or channeling time lost when damaged by 30%. Causes axe to heal the target. So the interesting thing too, though, if you do use Earth Shield on yourself, you get 100% pushback reduction. So the only... I know that seems like kind of pointless, but one thing I will state is this isn't really a PvP thing, but if you look at Healing Focus, if you talent into it, it's 70%, right? And then if you get Earth Shield, it's 30, so then you'd essentially have 100% avoidance for Interrupt. And I don't really think that's massive in a PvP sense, but the thing that I do find interesting about this is anytime, like, you want to, like, gold farm, and say you want to, like, clear a dungeon or something like that, and you have a ton of mobs on you, there's no efficient way of healing yourself unless you, like, lip. So, I feel like you might be able to do some interesting stuff with shamans now. Using, like, your... fire totems and staying alive, just healing yourself, farming some dungeons. So we'll have to see. That's one thing that I did notice. Yeah, 3 charges. TBC and Wrath, it was 8. I don't think it was. I think it was really... I'm pretty sure it was Um, 3 in TBC. Am I crazy? Or it was 5 or something? I don't know. 8 seems like so much. Dog's excited for SOD and screaming? Yeah. Yeah, I hope Everbloom is a passive. Weird, what is this? Unlimited instant requires Warlock. Requires level 1, requires Bear Form and Dire Bear Form. Requires everything. Taunts the target to attack you. It has no effect if the target is already attacking you. Oh, weird. You know what? This is the Warlock's, like, taunt thing, I think, but it requires Bear Form and Dire Bear Form. I wonder if they're using that as, like, a placeholder for, like, the armor percent increase. Maybe it was easier for them to do that on the back end to test stuff. I don't know. Kind of funny, though. Oh, TBC was 6 and Wrath was 8. Okay, I see. Yeah, it will scale with your level. So, for example, this says level 1. Requires level 1, and it heals you for 100. The healing might honestly be insane on Earthshield. I wish we could see, like, how it scales. Okay. Also, title focus costs less, makes sense. I don't know. Like, you have to give for Earthshield, you have to give up some really good defensives. So it might discourage people from picking it, but also, like, be kind of strong. Plus, like, personally, as someone who's been playing Ellie Shaman in PvP lately, spell pushback is so annoying. I wonder if you could make a case for using this just for the 30% reduction in spell pushback, because then obviously if you get crit too, you can get Eye of the Storm. So maybe it wouldn't be quite as useful, but I don't know. Sometimes you don't get crit for a while and you're just sitting there getting crazy pushback. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to kind of see what's the most beneficial thing to take. The requires mage thing you keep seeing may have to do with... Oh my gosh. Sorry guys, someone knocked on the door and they wanted to sell me something, you know. You know how it is. Requires mage. You keep seeing may have to do with the rune unlocks. Blizzard said sometimes you'd need to team up with certain classes to unlock them. Ooh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I know that mages also have like a bunch of the spells or items? The spells. The beginning. Maybe it was items. Items. Item patch. 5. They have all these like yeah, comprehension charm. So maybe the idea is that yeah, they are the only ones that can comprehend the, I don't know, the engravings on the rune or whatever, so you have to take it to a mage. You have to take the rune to a mage maybe, and then the mage unlocks it for you somehow. Almost like a rogue lockpicking thing. Could be cool. That's a good point, Matthew. I didn't think about that. Every time you say mage, dog gets excited. We know what it wants you to play. Your dog's heard them through your headset. Maybe it hates the class so much it doesn't even want to hear it. Yeah, exactly. It's a mage. Mage haters. Let me see. There was one other thing. Oh, it's spells though I want to show. Spells. Added in patch. 5. So if we go down to, wasn't aspect. There was something. Yeah, look. So hunter pet scaling is definitely now used by pet, shows all the pets. It's definitely now in the game. It was before it said like warlock pet scaling, so it wasn't like confirmed that hunters were going to get it, but most people thought so, and now obviously we see hunter pet scaling. Which I wonder what all the modifiers are. Melee attack power, damage done, resistance. So I'd assume it's looking at all these. Interesting. 5 days. Oh, I guess this was 5 days ago, so maybe it wasn't. It's not super new. But obviously that's awesome for hunters, because pets obviously just like over time they get worse and worse as you get more and more geared, because your pet is basically doing the same damage it did when you first hit 60, and now you're in tier 3 gear and your pet seems like it's hitting like a wet noodle. So, and it also dies extremely fast. So that's good for hunters, and I really think hunters are going to be super, super strong. Who knows if they'll be strong throughout the game, but I think at least at 25 they're going to be super strong in PvP. Please find something about hunter trap scaling. I haven't seen anything about... I know you can use the traps in combat, and you can also, looks like you can like trap launch it basically. So that's really cool. But in terms of like anything outside of that, I don't really know. Can't tell you. Seems like they're still the same abilities that you buy every so often. They're not like scaling with level. And no other new news. Let's am I hyped for the retail-y season? Yeah, we'll have to see how it plays. Like, hopefully it's a lot of fun. Guys, I'm skeptical, but I'm trying to stay positive, you know what I mean? So I don't really know. I don't really know how things are gonna turn out. Could be great, could be lots of fun, could be none of those things. Target prints. Is playing Lock on Alliance a significant disadvantage in PvP? Seems like Undead Racial is busted. Yeah, I mean, like, you have to play around it for sure. It's harder for Alliance Warlocks to deal with for sure. Like, just a trade-off you're giving. It's kind of like playing a rogue and like playing Alliance Rogue against Horde characters, because a lot of people end up being Orc, and then you have to just deal with stun resist. So it's a problem. You could argue that Horde players have to deal with perception from humans, but I don't really know how often that is like a game changer compared to 25% stun resist. Guys, this is like, I'm in basically level 25 Bis. Got the robes of Aragol on. They got the shoulders. I'm level 51 Mage. Got that boosting life. Okay, let's see. Paladins will destroy locks on Horde. I don't know, man. We'll have to see how everything plays out. I think people keep saying like saying certain things about class balance or like what class is going to be better, and like we don't really know. Like, even just from the stuff we've seen, no one has even gotten to get their hands on the game yet, right? And we've already seen Blizzard changing things. So they've already nerfed the tailoring boots. So there are things you might think, like, you're getting ready for the game, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, Warlock is going to be so busted, I'm going to play Warlock. And a week in, they could nerf your class, right? They could change Warlocks up so much because they were just too strong. That's one thing you got to think about going into this. So I definitely would play the class that you want to play based on, you know, play style, based on what you've enjoyed in the past, based on you know, what's needed in your guild or with your group of friends, because we don't really know what everything's going to look like in the end. Scare Beast works on druids? Yeah, it always has. So it should still work in classic era. I mean, in Season of Discovery. Yeah, guys, no more Warsong Weekend. I don't really even know what to do anymore. I don't know what to do with myself in this game. I just need a Season of Discovery to launch already. Like, I have nothing to contribute. Is there anything you guys can think of that we should do or test? I don't really know. Any thoughts on Shadow Priest in Season of Discovery? I think Shadow Priest is going to be pretty strong. And we've yet to see kind of what they plan on doing late game or once you actually have Shadow form. So I think priests are in a pretty strong spot right now. They don't have, like, if you look at shamans and druids both have a really nice, like, defensive rune to use that they can use in PvP. It's kind of meant for tanks, but they're also able to use it for themselves in PvP. And we don't really see something like that for priest yet. So priest might feel a little squishy, but to be determined. You already sped run to 25? No, I mean, I just don't really think there's much point in, like, I don't know how I'm, like, one, it's only level 25, so even if, like, there's just no point in me, you know, trying to find a speed run for it, because I don't know what runes I'll be able to get my hands on, so that could change up how I'm leveling. And also, I'm only going to level to, like, 16, and then I'll just get into, like, Wailing Caverns and then level up the last few levels just in dungeons getting my gear. So I'm not too worried about, like I could get into the game on the 30th, and I could play extremely slow and casual to like level 16, and I probably would only be like an hour behind those people that had like the perfect route. So I don't really think there's much of a point. Dispersion, please. Yeah, they need something like that, I think. Have I tested grabbing high-level chests? That's a good point. I need to find... Good idea. I need to find... I think they're called solid chest. So, I had someone in Discord that did a crazy amount of testing on fishing, and the fishing pools... It just doesn't seem that, like, the trash pools. He would fish up, like, you know, 16 to 20 like chests, and maybe get 3 to 5 green items, right? And there's also going to be other people fishing because it's kind of been hyped up. I don't really know if I even want to waste my time fishing. The interesting thing now about chests, let's go to containers. The interesting thing about chests is they're like, it's basically the higher level ones are almost guaranteed to have something useful in them. And the cool thing about that is you could easily go out with 2 people, like ideally probably like a rogue and a hunter, right? Or a druid and a hunter. And you could do it with any 2 classes. It doesn't really matter, but those would probably be the easiest. And you have one person pull the mobs away as far as they can, and then you go in and open the chests. And then you both reset. Because you can't open a chest while you're in combat. So you can't sheep a mob and then walk in and open the chest. It just doesn't work like that. You can't be in combat. So that's kind of why you need the 2 people. Spoilers? Oh yeah, we talked about... If you go back to the beginning, we talked about a bunch of spoilers. We probably won't have too many spoilers as of now, so you're kind of safe. But the spoilers were talking about all of the stuff that's kind of been data mined and up on Wowhead. Do we know if it even works on demon form, or would it be like any other class? I don't know what you're talking about with the demon form thing. Not sure. Okay, let's find... We want the chests that are in, like, Western Plaguelands. Well, maybe not even that high. Maybe we don't want those. But those also give a decent amount of money. Solid chest. Is that the one I clicked? Or is that the one that I was on? No. See, there's solid chest. There's ones that are called solid chests, but they are end up being in different zones. So STV, these ones are real hard with all the trolls and stuff, and then the humans. You might be able to get some of these down here. But as you can see, contains any of these, but then the problem is you look down and you say, oh, there's a not a very good chance of getting greens. But the thing is, there's always so many of them that you end up a lot of times grabbing one. Now these are the crappy chests. Those are not the ones that have the greens. Oh, exorcism? Yeah, it might treat the player as if they're a demon. I could see that. Blood chest. Let's see if it's... I know, like, for example, the chests in... While we're waiting, I'm going to run to... Actually, I'll just ask for a port. Goodbye, UC port. UC port. So there's, like, different greens. There's, like, a like different set of greens on, like, loot tables. Depending on what dungeon you're in and what mob you're fighting. So for example, there's a different set of greens that you can get in, let's say, mobs in RFK versus mobs in Scarlet Monastery Graveyard. And so I think RFK is a great dungeon to farm, but you might also find that SM Graveyard also has some pretty good stuff, and they have like a guaranteed chest in that dungeon. Sometimes you have to have lock picking. It'll be a locked chest, but those are always really good options as well. Don't think you would ever be able to get this. There's some chests too, though, that are here that you might be able to get. The problem is, like, you're at level 25, your aggro radius on those high level mobs is so large that even if you had a second player that was able to help pull mobs away, you might not be able to get enough of them away, if that makes sense. Someone on the forums proposed a raid group farming Timbermaw rep at 25 as well. Yeah, I've thought about that. I'm pretty sure... I don't know why I think this. Maybe it's not... maybe it's not actually true, but for some reason I remember, like, not getting rep if you had more than 5 or more than 10 people in your raid. Be 35 people in our rep raid, so no. I swear there was something with that. Maybe it was just something about, like, looting feathers. But yeah, if you had 40 level 25s, like, you'd be able to kill them. It would just, like... You'd have to use, like, abilities that hit. Like, for example, if you, like, if you strike a mob with, like, a white ability, like, ability that is doing white damage, just like normal melee swing, on a higher level mob, it'll do far less damage. However, if you're spamming Sinister Strike and a Sinister Strike lands, it's going to do the damage represented on the tooltip. And then obviously it'll take into consideration, like, armor and things like that. But that's what makes, like, some of those classes able to kill the higher level mobs a little bit easier. So that's one way that you could kind of get around it. I think, like, hunter pets have a better chance of doing damage to mobs as well. A bunch of hunters can actually do decent damage on mobs 10 levels higher. Yeah, I know there's something like that, but Off topic question. I'm new here. Do you stream on Twitch often or mainly YouTube? Love your content. Yeah, I only stream on YouTube right now. I might stream on Twitch in the future. I have a Twitch account. I just don't really use it that often. Problem is, like, I have to spend like I used to be able to use like restream.io or something like that is what it's called, I think. And now it's like $20 a month to be able to multi-stream, so I don't really know if I want to have to pay for that. But yeah, guys, I also added what's the word I'm looking for? I added the ability to join on YouTube, so you can now join as a member. You get a little badge next to your name and some perks like that if you want to help support the stream. Chess with lockpicking for rogues is very immersive. It follows the fantasy of the game. Yeah. Some fish schools hyperspawn like Stone Talon Mountains, and you fish all the schools, as it can give you trunk or respawn as wreckage pile, mithril, and iron trunks, and source of high level cloth and leather. Yeah, I mean, I know that's a possible way to farm. I personally think I'm gonna do a lot of just RFK. There's so many really, really, really good blues in RFK that are specifically for RFK only. So if we look at those, you look at the trash, there's only 2 items that are above level 25, which is this chest piece and the dagger vendetta. But everything else is like in that level. Like things like Plains Ring are absolutely busted for classes, and people will pay a lot for that. And also, like, you have Mantle of Thieves and you have Staff of Shade, which are also really, really strong. So I just feel like farming in here, it's like you have a chance of these really, really rare things, but then you're also getting lots of greens, you're getting cloth, you're getting I mean, some classes even it's beneficial for them to come in and do some of the bosses. Like hunters get a 2-handed polearm that has 11 agility, which is actually a lot of agility. The other polearm from the raid is only 8 agility, so this is actually a better stat weapon. Do I think 2 points into Ghost Wolf at 25 is a must? I think so. And I think they're also possibly changing Ghost Wolf so that it can be used indoors. We looked at that earlier. You might be able to use Ghost Wolf indoors, and it also seems like it has a 10% damage reduction too, which is really strong. Imagine Horde managing to loot the Desolace traps for the iron fishing pole. OP as hell. Yeah, we'll have to see how all that stuff works. There's a PvP video where a bunch of level 29 hunters are farming players at the entrance of Blackrock 5-man dungeon. Yeah, I mean, but hitting a player is different than hitting a mob. Do a little semi-cataclysm for Classic Plus. We get abilities for it anyway. Never give us mistakes like future expansions did for BC or Wrath Lich King. A hunter can level a new range weapon from skill 1 and not even notice the difference from max skill. Hunters hit so easily. Yeah, I mean, that is the nice thing. I think hunters in phase 1 are going to be great for like farming stuff. So even if you're not going to main a hunter, I think it's great to have. Just even running around and gathering, you have an aspect of the cheetah, which is, you know, basically better than any other abilities that classes will have. Yeah, guys, we're in single-digit days. We're at 9 days left. It's coming up fast, around the corner. Soon, soon, soon. And people call me mad for asking for Classic Plus. I always wanted a patch, a 1.14 patch instead of TBC. Yeah, I mean, like, hey, if you look at, I have old YouTube videos on my channel where I speculated on, like, the funny thing is like, here we can look at it real fast. Eras and trips. So this was This was 4 years ago. This was like before, right at like TBC. They were talking about doing TBC, and people were saying, "What do you think? They're going to go TBC, or they're going to move on to like a Classic Plus?" And I kind of outlined some Classic Plus stuff in here, but guys, I even did like a little lore thing. Like it was super cringy, but no, it's necessary. Let's speed it up.
Deadwind Pass has laid dormant and uninhabited since Medivh's death. Connecting Duskwood and the Swamp of Sorrows, travelers are often advised to move quickly. Rumors of a haunted crypt have made their way back to the Explorers League in Ironforge. Stories of powerful leaders and hated enemies of Azeroth being buried there. Treasure and lost riches are said to lie with the Fallen. As word spread across Azeroth,
I did that, and then we got in here, and I was like mocking up some items, like for a Judgment Taunt for Paladin, some boots that gave you movement speed for Cloth. Oh yeah, this was my effective change for caster classes that have mana issues. Reduces your healing done by 100% for 5 minutes, but it instantly restores 100% of your base mana. Yeah, guys, that was my random idea on. Well, then I was talking about different stuff, but yeah, I think Classic Plus has always been the way to go with content. I've always just, I don't know. To me, it just seems like the essence of Classic, and the fact that the world is so like, everything in the world is so integral to everything else. Whereas as soon as you step into Outland, like the rest of the zones and the like the lower level zones in Azeroth completely die essentially. And so I think like anything that is done with Classic, it's just like needs to be in those zones and stick to kind of the Classic feeling, but hopefully they do that in the future. I don't know. I just like all the class changes worry me a little bit. I feel like the classes are getting a little bit crazy, but who knows? We'll see. Well, at the time, Blizz royally effed up, so no changes was relevant, especially for Classic. Yeah, and I think people just wanted to experience Classic, right? And now that everyone's experienced Classic, I think people are more willing to look for something else, because obviously like fresh Classic servers are fun, right? But like over time, players are just going to stop playing the game with no changes to anything. So I think adding some changes is good for getting players to come back to the game, but also it's at the same time obviously a little risky, because not everyone's going to like the changes that someone puts forward, and it's hard to deal with like balancing, and it's hard to know like what changes to add and what changes people won't like, which I think is why doing it as a seasonal server is a really smart idea. It allows them to kind of see, they might have plans to do like actual Classic Plus in the future, and this is a good way of them being able to kind of gauge interest in it. It allows them to see like what works, what doesn't. So that's kind of how I see Season of Discovery. No changes was a dead end from the beginning, and many called this out. I think no changes was fine early on, just because people wanted to, like, there's a lot of people that never had played Classic, or they played Classic years and years and years ago, like they didn't play private servers, and people didn't want Blizzard to go ahead and say yes to Classic but have a bunch of changes in it. So I feel like it was a valid thing at the time. No changes was lazy approach trying to duplicate the private server meta. Problem was that private server meta was already tried and only supported by rating elites wanting fresh. Yeah, I don't know. So does Chaos Bolt always hit? What's the cooldown? So if avoidance rogues, they'll eventually kill any mob. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see how all that stuff like pans out in the end, but yeah, Chaos Bolt goes through barriers, I know. I'm mainly excited for SOD for feeling of a fresh server. Yeah, I'm excited to try it out. Seems like lots of changes. Who knows if they're all going to be good, but I don't even think Blizzard expects them all to be good or received well. So I think it's just going to be kind of hit or miss in terms of like what the community likes, and hopefully they're just taking that and moving forward with it. So I'm going to play it. I don't have like huge expectations, but from everything I've seen, all the interviews, stuff we've seen at BlizzCon, I'm definitely like excited, and think it looks like a lot of fun. So fresh means a server will die. It's part of the process. Yeah, I mean, true. Yeah, that said, SOD sounds fun, but the last one wasn't well participated. It's the new content pulling people in. Yeah, but then also like the last season, it was also like right after Classic ended. They basically TBC came out, and then they had a seasonal server. So I think the interest just wasn't really there yet. People had just kind of done the thing a little bit before, and like you said, they made some changes, but to be honest, all the changes just like made the game a little bit more difficult or harder to get in. I guess they made some leveling changes which were nice, but beyond that, like making the dungeon or making raiding harder, no world buffs, all that stuff, like that helps casual players out in the end. So when you do that, you kind of alienate people that maybe would have preferred the easier content. So I don't know. SOM timing was terrible. It was 100% timing. Yeah, I think so. Like I didn't even play SOM till like maybe a few weeks or months into SOM's launch, because I was just busy doing other stuff in like TBC and whatnot. What I think the least played class will be, I don't really know, to be honest. The polls are showing like priest, rogue, mage, and stuff are actually kind of lower. Warrior are kind of lower all on the list, but I think that's going to change over time. I think a lot of people are excited to play the new classes and races and stuff, but in the end, they or not the new races, the new class changes and stuff. But then in the end, they're not going to maybe like enjoy it as much as they thought, and they'll end up playing like another character. A lot of people will just be playing alts and testing things out and seeing what they want. So Warlock will be top dog. We'll see. No, they kind of said that they weren't planning on changing any racial stuff. So we'll have to wait and see if that's kind of the plan. Not really sure yet. Guys, I just wanted to let you know too. Look, see this? I added the join button now. You can join and become a member on YouTube. It's like Twitch subs, and you get a little icon next to your name. So definitely do that if you want to. Only if you want to, though. SOM was a copy of late stage private server that quicken leveling and content progression. They had a 1-year life, and a fresh server was expected after. Yeah, I don't think like for the people that are saying like for the people that are saying like SOM was like an indication of how well SOD will perform, like that's just crazy. I think Season of Mastery, even Blizzard probably would admit now that it was just like a bad time to launch it. And it's like if they release Season of Discovery, right? And then like 2 or 3 months after Season of Discovery ends, they announce Season of Discovery 2, and it has just like a few little changes. Like there's a, a very large chance that it won't do very well, right? Like either one, you're going to have really big changes to entice people to come back, or you're going to have to let a long enough period of time elapse so that people are ready to consume pretty much the same content again. So that's just kind of what I see with that. Any thoughts on locked or forced faction balance? Yeah, we'll see how they implement it. I think it's kind of worrisome for like if like you have a friend that wants to come play and they can't anymore because the server's locked, but I don't really know what their the alternatives for that stuff is. I can join and get my credit card details docs. Nice. I mean, it's none of it's through me. It's all through Google and YouTube. I imagine, like me, that SOD is sort of a Classic Plus beta, and changes will eventually hit Perma Classic. Yeah, I could see that too. How do you search for the latest Datamine stuff? Yeah, I can show you. So, let me make sure I have the right window open. So if you come into Classic, so if you come into Wowhead and you go to the Classic tab up top, and then you come over to Database, so you can click on Database, and it will show you all the different things in the database, or obviously you can just choose from the list. So let's say you want to look at, I would say the main ones to look at are items, spells, and that's pretty much the ones that are important. Items and spells. So if you come into items and then you go to additional filters and you click added in patch, and then you look for 1.15, so 1.15, and then you just apply it, and then it will show you all the things that were added in that patch. So hopefully that helps. Why is Alliance better? New here? I mean, people think it has. I don't know. It's really not that. It's really not that much better, and they're making adjustments to give kind of some of the Paladin kit to Horde and some of the Shaman kit to Alliance. So technically, they should kind of balance out a little bit more in terms of their abilities in raid. But historically, they have had better time raiding just because they're, Paladins have a threat buff to lower people's threat, and I don't know, Pally Blessings are really strong. They have fear wards for dwarfs that comes in handy sometimes. It's not like huge, but there's just a few things here and there. Oh yeah, true. Yeah, and of course kings, yeah. There's several world buffs that increase your base stat, like increase your stats. The Heart of ZG and then Songflower. And so then obviously when you have something like kings, that's increasing stats even more. It's just like your stats can just get kind of crazy buffed. Yeah, hunters will have Aspect of the Lion, which is essentially kings. And it seems as though it will be raid-wide instead of party-wide, which is pretty crazy. Fear Ward will now, if you're saying now accessible to all races, It does sound like they are planning on giving priest abilities to other priests. But I don't know. I think in general, like, there's tons of changes happening to all the classes. We don't really know what's going to happen down the line. So uh, if you're picking to play Horde versus Alliance just based off like some kind of raid comp stuff, that seems weird to me just because we don't know what the future is going to look like. And if you're picking based off what you like to play or where like your guild is going or your friends are going, that obviously makes a whole lot more sense to me. Can't decide between priest and shaman. Yeah, I mean, it's oh, I guess my Ashenvale music stopped. Sorry guys, that's we want to hear the Ashenvale music. Yeah, I think we'll have to see like how classes perform overall down the road. I think a lot of the people, myself included, who are on the fence about like what they want as like an alt or what they want to play as even a main. Some people don't know what they want to play as their main. I think you really have to just play the thing that is resonating with you now in the game. Don't look towards the future, and don't also look at like the new abilities and think they're set in stone. Because as we've seen, they've already nerfed some stuff. They've already made changes. So it's something that we can't be sure on, right? So obviously get excited and get hyped for different classes and theory craft about stuff like that. That's tons of fun, and I like doing that myself. But in terms of what's going to be the best later on, we're not really sure. Like one thing that I think is really interesting that we've seen recently is Ghost Wolf, right? So turns a shaman into a ghost wolf, increasing speed by 40%, only usable outdoors. This is the traditional ghost wolf. Now, turns the shaman into a ghost wolf, increasing speed by 40% and decreasing all damage taken by 10%, and it no longer says anything about only being usable outdoors. So if this is true, ghost wolf is just got a huge buff. So there you go, shamans. Enjoy that. I'm trying to just think of the big stuff we saw. I believe it was called... Wasn't it called Gift? Something Arthus. Arthus. Was it Path of Arthus? Path of Arthus, okay. Your connection to the light has been damaged. All holy healing you receive or you deal decrease by 50%, but all non-holy damage you deal is increased by 5%. So basically, it's a buff to ret and prot. However, it's going to make it so that they're not as efficient in terms of their heals, which I think is obviously a good thing for like PvP or just kind of like the hybrid tax kind of stuff with that. So that's something. And then also, guys, so again, people, you guys are so excited about your alliance and you're so excited about your pallies and Ret in particular, but people need to realize Shaman is looking really good, and they're obviously testing some stuff out with possibly adding Maelstrom in the future, which if you guys don't know that ability, it is a crazy strong talent that's introduced, I believe, in TBC even, and it allows you to stack like a casting reduction on your nature spells all the way up till where it becomes instant cast on 5 stacks. So having something like this in Classic would be absolutely nutty, and like just there's another reason to play Horde, guys. Another one. Oh yes. Let's check out spells. No, we want to go to database, items, and then we want to go in here, apply. Another big one, guys. These boots we've known about, right? However, now they used to reduce all damage taken and damage dealt by 50%, but now it's down to 30%. And it used to be a 5-minute cooldown, and now it's a 10-minute cooldown. So these boots have been nerfed. They're still very strong, but they have been nerfed. I don't really think there's a whole lot of other changes that I need to cover. Hunter pet scaling is definitely in the game files now. So before it had said Warlock pet scaling, so we weren't 100% sure that hunters were going to get pet scaling, but now it's pretty much confirmed that they're at least testing it. But it seems like it probably will be implemented. So super good news to all you hunter fans out there. Warlocks get demonic charge, I think is what it's called. They're not called that. Maybe it's called something else. Charge. Abilities. Demon charge. So demon charge, let's actually go back. So demon charge, it is 15-second cooldown, charge, and you stun the enemy for 1 second, and it cannot be used in combat, 8 to 25 yard range. If you look at warrior's charge, stun for 1 second, cannot be used in combat, 15-second cooldown, 8 to 25 yard range. So warlocks are going to get a charge just like warriors, and it has a 15-second cooldown just like warriors. Now, you have to use this in Metamorphosis, so it's not like every warrior can use it, but very strong ability. Yeah, warlocks are looking... warlocks are definitely looking really, really strong. $200 pets would be OP with their new runes. Yeah, I think that'd be way too hard to balance. How do you get to the data mine information again? Sorry for asking again. No worries. It's so you go to the database and you can choose what you want to look at. For example, we looked at NPCs earlier, right? So if you go into NPCs, it will show you a list of all the NPCs in the game. But if you go to added and patch, and then you select the patch that you want, which is we want 1.15 because that's the most recent patch. You click apply filter, and it's going to show you all of the classic NPCs that have been added, or I think this is very important to note, or changed in some way. They're not the original. They have been updated in some way, and so those you can find here. So we were talking about that earlier. Again, 378 changes or added mobs to the game files, which is pretty big. That shows just how much they're actually changing or testing or working on here in Season of Discovery. So it's not just a few things added, and you can see brand new mobs, for example, this cat. I assume probably this is a cat that you would kill. It's classified as a rare, so it's probably something you kill, and then it probably will drop a item that is needed to complete a rune, or maybe it will drop the rune itself. But there's a lot of these kind of mobs in the game files now, so big changes coming. And guys, we only have 9 days left. 9 days. We're finally into single-digit days. The biggest buff to Horde would be not having the entire faction slamming into the Barons. Hey, give Silverpine Forest a little love, right? Luckily, they only get their rubbish rank of Searing Pain. Yeah, for 25. Yeah, there will be a 3-day lockout for the 10-man raid. So it's just like how it is in ZG or AQ20. Oh, another thing, guys. Zoram Strand. Look at this. New spell found in the game. portal to Zoram Strand. So there's going to be some sort of portal, whether it's at the end of the dungeon, whether a mage can learn this. We're not sure yet, but there'll be some sort of portal to Zoram Strand added into the game. It could be that you're only able to use the portal when you've won the Ashenvale PvP event. Again, not sure on the specifics of this, but this is definitely something big that was added. I don't really think there's a whole lot else to cover. I'll quickly scroll through some of this just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh yeah, I mean, mages have a res now. So this looks like it's probably a mage res. It would make the most sense. They also have a magic dispel now. Mages do. So mages definitely. Oh yeah, remove greater curse. Removes 1 curse and 1 harmful magic effect. So very strong ability. Where on Azeroth is Zoram Strand? So Zoram Strand is quite literally here. Let's show you. So this is Zoram Strand, and this is where the raid will be. This is where Black Fathom Depths is. So there'll be a portal to this coast. I was thinking it might be at the runes, but yeah, it's somewhere along here. I would not be surprised if possibly Alliance has a flight path now to like the north portion of Zoram Strand, or maybe it's like at the very bottom of why am I blanking on Darkshore? Yeah, Darkshore. For Alliance, because otherwise they have kind of they have a farther walk, and they have this choke point right here to get down into like this valley, and man, Horde PvP right here could be pretty insane for Alliance to have to deal with. And then also going into Black Fathom Depths, guys, I don't know if you've been into BFD lately, but is a long hallway in a cave. Okay, so if you think about how bad Blackrock Mountain can be with PvP, you got to think Blackrock Mountain has 2 entrances, is a massive zone, has plenty of areas inside for you to like have people summon you into. But with BFD, it is a straight hallway that you have to go through. So if one faction is able to lock it down, you know, with a ton of players and they're just PvPing in the tunnel, it might be very, very hard for groups to actually get into the raid. So all interesting things to consider and think about. Imagine a south flight path for Night Elf leveling in Darkshore. So much running. Yeah, I know. Darkshore is horrible for having to run all the way down to the bottom. Will access to the 5-man actually be removed? It does seem like that. I don't think you'll be able to do the 5-man dungeon. Gotta unlock Hyjal as it is close to Ashenvale. Could be a zone for level 40 to level 60 depending on bearing. North, south, west, east. Yeah, we'll have to see what they do with other zones. I don't want what I'm hoping from Season of Discovery is nothing is added beyond what we see here on the map. Like, I don't want a new zone that you go to because I think it takes away from the zones here. But yeah, so if you want to say go into wetlands and add content around Grim Batol, or take some of these areas in zones that are kind of dead or lifeless or seem like they needed, like they had some plans but they never capitalized on them, you know, talking about Oldham down here, that would be cool. I'd like to see that kind of stuff added to the game, but I don't really want like a whole bunch of new stuff. I'm confused, sorry. How do you get to added patch? It's not showing that option for me. Okay, let's look at it again. So when you're in any of the database stuff, so it can be, let's just go to items. It's going to have a way to filter stuff up here, and it's just this pull down tab that's additional features. and it's going to be under general, and it just is added in patch. And so you can do multiple too. Like if you want to, like you can do added in patch, and then you also can go down here and put that it is crafted by a profession, right? And then I can apply, and then you can only see the profession things. So you can kind of customize your search a little bit here, which is very helpful. Are there talent changes data mined? I haven't seen any. We can double check, but no, going through all the spells, I didn't see anything that was like specifically changed. There's a lot of like tool tips that are slightly different, but yeah, nothing here for talents. Thanks, I didn't see it the first time. I appreciate you subscribed. Yeah, no problem, man. Happy to help. Not a new continent as TBC did, just old Azeroth. Add Gilneas to Eastern Kingdoms and Hyjal to Kalimdor. Yeah, I could see them doing stuff like that. It would be kind of nice. Yeah, so many zones available in Old World to expand on. Just make it earlier story arc set up prior to TBC and Wrath. Yeah, I agree. As long as they keep stuff classic, I'm okay seeing some of those things. And I think seasonal servers are the perfect place for them to test these things before they actually possibly do something like a Classic Plus in the future, or maybe something like a WoW 2. But okay, guys, I think that's where I'm going to end it today. We covered a lot of stuff. We talked about all of the changes that I could find within the database for Wowhead. So definitely, if you're like tuning in to the later portion of it, I would check out the VOD and go to the beginning, because we kind of were reading through a lot of tool tips and kind of looking over stuff. But I appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for watching, and like I've said in my previous streams, I'm streaming every day up until Season of Discovery, and then I'm going to be streaming anytime I'm playing Season of Discovery. So definitely subscribe if you want to watch some of my streams sometimes. But